The Formula 2 cars coming to the line now, and this is the second of two historic Formula 2 Championship races, and on pole position, yesterday's winner Matthew Watts with the ex-Norman Dixon March 772, alongside him 54 Richard Evans with the Formula Atlantic March BDA 79B. Second row of the grid is number 44 Phil Hall in the gold Vorsteiner Euro-Race March BMW 752, and then 85 Chris Livingston Price with the Chevron Hart B40, the ex-Fred Opert team car. 13 is Dean Forward with his March BMW 782 Tolman team car, and 23 the red car of the Swede Tony Johansson. 1 is reigning champion Robert Simek with his ex-Jean-Pierre Jussot March, pretty much untouchable, although Matthew Watts did borrow Roger Bevan's car at Monza, I believe, and beat him. 10 is Richard Ellingworth in his March 782. 36, Jeremy Wheatley. He is in his Surtees, Matchbox Team Surtees. 3 is Luciano Arnold in his Brabham BT 36. 28 is Tom Smith, driving Gary Diver's ex-Howdy Holmes Formula Atlantic March. 17 Max Blease with the ex-John Watson Brabham. 50 is Paul Basson with the ex-James Hunt March 712M. Then it's number 5 Mike Barnby with the unique Modus M7, car raced by Ian Grob and Danny Sullivan period. 25 is Paul Tattersall with his Brabham. 31 Nick Osborne with the March 732. And then at the back you've got the two Australians from the early class, Tim Cutchell in 118 and 112 Wayne Wilson. Tim Cutchell, who found something like 9 seconds in yesterday's race. Absolutely super bit of driving from the Australian, who came over and did some races in Europe last year. He's now come back to kind of finish his odyssey this season.
Ja, prachtige historic Formula 2 Championship, waarin we eigenlijk 80% March, it's about 80% of March cars. Dan hebben we een enkele Brabham ertussen zitten, een Modus ertussen zitten en een Surtees. En dan hebben we alle merken in ieder geval gehad. Maar dat geeft verder niks. Prachtige klassen die een mooie volume aan decibels weten te produceren. Passend natuurlijk bij deze fraaie raceauto's. En we gaan het zien. Er zitten hele snelle machines tussen overigens. Dat gaat u dadelijk wel meemaken. En we hadden het er gisteren al een beetje over. De brede banden in deze klasse, dat gaat een beetje het soort band worden qua grootte wat in de Formule 1 van volgend jaar gebruikt gaat worden. Misschien nog iets breder zelfs. Dus dat gaat er interessant genoeg uitzien. Mooie auto's deze en we gaan eigenlijk van... er zitten 3 generaties eigenlijk in. Je hebt de auto's die compleet zeg maar, zijn voorzien van een soort van de voorvleugel, de achtervleugel. Maar je hebt ook de klassen zeg maar, die nog een beetje de oude Lotussen zijn met die open bek aan de voorkant. Met toch 2 vleugeltjes erlangs, maar dat is een heel ander type vleugel dan we gewend zijn natuurlijk bij de iets modernere auto's. En je hebt daar vleugelloze auto's erbij zitten, om het zo maar te zeggen. Dus in mijn ogen... Ja, het is ook natuurlijk de 1600 en de 2 liters auto's, daar ook zit het verschil. Maar je ziet duidelijk het loop in de jaren. En de Surtees is de originele Matchbox auto. Ja, bij Matchbox moet ik eigenlijk alleen maar denken aan speelgoedauto's, moet ik eerst zeggen. Maar
de Matchbox,
gesponsord, ja.
The Matchbox Toy Car Company, yes.
Yeah, that's what I talked about. The only thing I know of Matchbox is toy cars.
Derek Bell, Carlos Parche and Jochen Mass drove this car back in the period. Of course, Mike Hailwood won the European Formula 2 Championship for Matchbox Team Surtees, the great motorcycle racer who also raced very successfully in Formula 1, Formula 5000, etc. And was very sadly killed in a road accident. And the cars then on the line. This is the Formula 2 Championship. Of course, it finished in 1984 Formula 2 and came here to Zandvoort on occasions, which was brilliant. The lights are on and off, and Matthew Watts got off the line really well. Richard Evans didn't get off so well. Phil Hall is second. Evans currently third, but going down the left-hand side, the pale blue chevron, the Fred Opert Racing chevron, and Dean Forward locks up on the outside, tries to get round the grass track racer, great grass track champion. Dean Forward is up into fourth place with the Formula 2 March BMW. Really good start for him. But out front, it's Matthew Watts. Phil Hall is second. Richard Evans is third. Dean Forward is in fourth place. In fifth place is Chris Livingston Price in the 85 car, the pale blue car, which was run by the American entrant Fred Opert in period. Bless him, Fred passed away last month. Very, very fondly remembers the man who really made the career of Keke Rosberg by maintaining the faith. When Rosberg had no money, Fred Opert ran in Formula 2 and Formula Atlantic in the States as well, and other places in the world. But they still streak round Schijfvlak. There's Tom Smith trying to get onto terms with Luciano Arnold in the Brabham. Tom driving Gary Diver's March 79B, and through they go. We'll pick up the leaders again in just a moment, but it's Matthew Watts who leads by quite a margin because Richard Evans still can't get past the Phil Hall. Phil Hall with the BMW 2-litre power in that gold Warsteiner beer supported March. Front, it's a 2-litre March BMW as well. The later 772, a car that was run for Norman Dixon in period by Colin Bennett, who's here with some Formula 1 cars later in the day. You'll see those cars out in the FIA Masters Historic Formula 1 Championship, but it's Matthew Watts who has the advantage, and he had the engine problems at Monza. Apart from that, he's been going really, really well. There he goes. Matthew Watts comes through. Richard Evans has got up to second place. Phil Hall is third. Fourth is Dean Forward. And Dean Forward will maybe try to go down the outside again. And he does. He tries the same trick on Phil Hall. And they're up the curves on the outside goes Dean Forward. But he's made it stick round the outside at Tarzan. He comes. So Dean Forward in the number 13 up ahead of the 44 as they go out of the Hugenholspot, over de Hunsrück en up towards Schijfvlak.
Ja, Dean Forward die doet zijn naam eer aan Forward. Hij gaat vooruit, derde plaats voor hem. Mooie actie met de nummer 13, de blauw-witte March. Die uiteindelijk een hele mooie manier vanuit de Tarzan uit, zeg maar, een beetje de curbstones meenemend buitenom de auto ging van Phil Hall. De gouden March die daar rijdt, de nummer 44 auto. Deed hij netjes en voor het Schijfvlak zat hij ervoor. Dus je ziet in deze klasse kan er veel gebeuren. Ja, vooraan in het veld is het nog steeds Matthew Watts aan de leiding. In de witte March. Daarachter dan de oranje March van Richard Evans. Maar daar zit een aardig stukje tussen die twee mannen. Het zal ongeveer 2/10 van een seconde zijn. We gaan kijken of het Richard Evans gaat lukken om in de loop van de wedstrijd snelle rondetijden neer te zetten. Maar afgelopen ronde was dat gewoon 1:43.7 voor Watts. En dat is heel veel sneller dan de rest.
Watch for Richard Evans. He only has a 1600cc PDA engine and carburetors. Formula Atlantic car, it's 50 kilos lighter than the 2-litre BMW Power March. But Richard has got his head down and he's charging after Matthew Watts. He's got the fastest lap of the race, a 39.714 to Richard Evans. The gap is down to 1.4 seconds. Forward is third. Hall is fourth. And that's Paul Tattersall's Brabham. Paul Tattersall's Brabham, 25. Pulling off at the side of the circuit. He was down the order, but is out of the race, I'm afraid.
Ja, Paul Tattersall, de nummer 25 Brabham, die is vanaf een 14e plaats buiten de race gevallen. Is, ik denk in de Hans Ernstbocht recht doorgegaan. Niet in het grind, maar net op het grasstrookje daarnaast. En de marshals gaan proberen de auto in veiligheid te brengen. Eén uitvaller dus de nummer 25 Paul Tattersall, terwijl Thomas Smith in de pitstraat is.
Yeah, Tom Smith into the pits with the borrowed car. And watch also for number 1, which is Robert Simac. Robert Simac, the driver from Alsace, the Alsace region of France. He's won this championship for the last 3 years. He would have won it 4 years ago as well. It's a class-based championship, but for a big engine blow-up. But he and his wife run this car together, and he's a tremendous driver. He raced against Alain Prost when he was a young man, and then had to stop racing, run out of money like the vast majority of them do. And now in his later years is coming back and dominating the 1600cc class in this championship, the earliest. The leaders come through 1.1 seconds, so Richard Evans is not going to let Matthew Watts away. They've had a misfire on the second place car, which appears to be sorted now. They've been fighting it for a couple of weekends now. They had struggled with it at Alton Park last weekend. But Richard Evans wringing the neck of the Formula Atlantic car, in which he's beaten Formula 2s and Formula 5000s at home in the HSCC Derek Bell Historic Sports Car Club. In its 50th year this year, runs this championship throughout Europe. The final round is at Dijon at the beginning of October.
Ja, het is Richard Evans die steeds dichter in de buurt gaat komen van Matthew Watts. De nummer 2 auto aan de leiding, dat is de witte March. En daarachter dan de oranje March van Richard Evans, die bij de afgelopen doorkomst al iets meer dan 1,1 seconde achter Watts zat. Nou, dat was straks dik zo'n 2,4 seconden, dus daar is een behoorlijk eindje afgeknabbeld. Ook de afgelopen rondetijd was sneller voor Richard Evans, dus we zien hem ook op het scherm met stappen dichterbij komen. Ik kan me niet voorstellen dat het verschil tussen beide mannen meer dan een seconde is inmiddels. Nou, daarachter dan de Dean Forward, maar die zit er 8,5 seconden achter met de nummer 13 March. De blauw-witte auto, dat gaat hem voorlopig niet worden. Maar houdt u de witte auto aan kop en de oranje auto nummer 54 daarachter in de gaten. Dat is de strijd om denk ik, de hoogste podiumplaats in deze wedstrijd. We hebben nog 18 minuten en 15 seconden te gaan. Dus er is nog wat te racen. We zijn er nog lang niet en het is een technische sport, dus er kan wat gebeuren. Maar mooie strijd hier dus op het rechte stuk. En inderdaad, Richard Evans, de oranje nummer 54, een kleine 16e van een seconde. Hij is op jacht naar die leidende positie in de wedstrijd. Matthew Watts, druk in de spiegels aan het kijken, probeert te pareren, maar qua rondetijd lukt dat voor ons nog niet. En het is heel duidelijk dat Richard Evans verder en verder onder de achtervleugel duikt van Matthew Watts.
Fantastic stuff. Matthew Watts still leads, but Richard Evans, who is giving away the better part of 100 horsepower to the car that's leading, the 2-litre BMW-powered March, is keeping him honest, that's for sure. Tony Johansson in 23, the red March 782, has caught Chris Livingston Price's Chevron, number 85. That's becoming a good battle for 5th place. Alex Ribeiro March of Tony Johansson. There's not much of the original car left, it has to be said. And they move on, lap 5 now. Time still coming down, particularly among the chasing group, who take a little bit longer to get into their stride than the real experts up front. And Richard Evans brakes really late in the lighter Formula Atlantic March. Coming over the curbs there, just which you can use on the inside of the Hans Ernst block. They're closing on the tail ender, which is Wayne Wilson in the pale blue Brabham. Very early spec car this, just a twin cam spec Brabham, and Wayne Wilson stays out of the way, one of the Australian visitors. He and Tim Cushel over here. Wayne from Sydney and Tim from Adelaide. There they go, 0.37. Very, very close all the way, tracking each other round Tarzan. Richard Evans waiting for a mistake, trying to force an error from race leader Matthew Watts.
Ja, mooie strijd aan de kop met Richard Evans, die natuurlijk echt zwaar gevecht is gewikkeld met Matthew Watts, de leider in deze wedstrijd. De auto's zitten zeer dicht op elkaar. En Matthew Watts is geen enkel foutje gegund, want dan is het gelijk gebeurd. Dan gaat Richard Evans er gelijk links of rechts omheen. Mooie strijd daar, terwijl er iemand denk ik terug is gevallen. Want zowel de nummer 85 Chris Lillington Price als Torgny Johansson en Robert Simek, die zijn een plaats naar voren geschoven. Wie is dat dan die weggevallen is? One of the cars disappeared.
Is it... who's gone? Phil Hall. Phil Hall's, yeah. Phil Hall into the pits.
Inderdaad, we zagen een hele lijst van auto's die allemaal een plaatsje opschoven. En dat betekent altijd dat er eentje tussenuit is. Terwijl de strijd aan de kop tussen Watts en Evans onverminderd doorgaat, is het Hall met de gouden Warsteiner March. Die even bijpraat, gas geeft en ik dacht dat hij weg ging rijden, maar inmiddels toch niet. Ik ben toch altijd benieuwd wat daar allemaal dan besproken wordt. Nee, Phil Hall stapt uit.
And Tom Smith is back in the march that stopped earlier on, so obviously a little problem. They're trying to use it as a test now, I think. Phil Hall's out of his car, and I wonder, there's still half a second between these. It's brought Robert Seamack up into the top 6. The 1600 class leader, the reigning champion, and also the championship leader this year. Seamack with a personal best of 1:45.429, going really, really well as ever in that early spec car. But Richard Evans gets really close to the gearbox of the leader's car, going through the Hugenholzbocht up into the dunes. Power tells going up the hill the other side. The battle goes on. Forward is in third place now in 13. Fourth is 85 Livingston Price, who has repelled Tony Johansson to the tune of a couple of seconds now. Johansson all over him a couple of laps ago. Ellingworth having a good fight with Jeremy Wheatley, the ex-mini racer. Jeremy Wheatley comes down the inside, outbreaks Richard Ellingworth into
Een mooie slipstream, nice slipstream from the number 36. Jeremy Wheatley, die met zijn auto goed in de slipstream waar Richard Ellingworth zat en er voor de Tarzan heel makkelijk voorbij ging. Zat er echt een meter achter, dus had echt de extra snelheid mee toen hij opeens in de wind kwam. En daarmee kon hij voorbij Richard Ellingworth komen. Mooi in het gevecht om die 7e positie in de wedstrijd. En je ziet ook dat hij inmiddels een stuk sneller is, Wheatley, want hij rijdt weg bij Richard Ellingworth.
6 laps in and still 13 minutes to go. So we're pretty much down to halfway. Leaders very, very close together, 0.47 that time. Both lapping in the 140s, 140.374 leader, 140.342 the chaser. Dean Forward did his best lap of the race last time round, and he's here he is again. Tom Smith went out, but is back in the pits again, so whatever they were trying to do to cure maybe a misfire in that car hasn't worked, so he's back in. Livingston Price, Tony Johansson in 4th and 5th are through, and here's Robert Seamack at the Harry Lindlake box coming onto the long straight and coming through in 6th place. So Seamack really going beautifully in the number 1 car. He's a long, long way ahead of Luciano Arnold in 3, Paul Basson in 50, and Max Bliss in 17. Max Bliss from Aachen in Germany, not a long way away.
Ja, prachtige klasse deze Historic Formula 2 Championship. En de strijd aan de kop is nog niet gestreden hoor. Het is qua rondetijden nagenoeg gelijk. Het verschil tussen beide mannen minder dan 15e van een seconde. En we hebben nog steeds 11 minuten en 40 seconden te gaan. Dus we zitten nou net krap over de helft van de race die in totaal 25 minuten zou duren. Daar komen de leidende duo weer het rechte stuk op. Verschil iets minder dan 15e van een seconde. En dat is nu opeens bijna 18e van een seconde geworden. De tijd van Matthew Watts, de nummer 2 auto aan de leiding. De wit-blauwe auto 1:39.717 verbetert wederom zijn eigen tijd. En loopt daarmee dus verder weg bij Richard Evans.
Personal best for Matthew Watts has given him a little bit of a gap back to Richard Evans. I wouldn't call it breathing space. It's just a couple of tenths nick back. Richard Evans, though, is still grimly determined, hanging on. So he's giving away a lot of power in the Formula Atlantic car to the Formula 2. Richard Evans leads his class, Class B. Second in that class is Gwyn Pollard in another orange car, the Chevron B29. That's down in 13th place, car number 18. Same order behind the leaders. And Dean Forward does another personal best, a 1:42.225. And through some traffic there has helped Richard Evans. Evans now back. They've gone past Gwyn Pollard in the orange Chevron, and also the red Modus of Mike Barnby with a distinctive full width front wing. Matthew Watts in this beautifully set up March 772, and Richard Evans, who, whatever he's driven in historic racing over the years, whether it's been Formula 2 cars or 2-litre sports cars as well, he's been incredibly quick in all of them. He's one of those natural talents who can jump into pretty much anything and go very, very quickly. But it's 0.8 between the two. Dean Forward has been going well. He's new to Formula 2 this year, having moved up from 1-litre Formula 3 cars. Dean Forward in the number 13 car. Here he comes. Had the odd race in the Formula 5000 as well over the years, but there he goes. So Spencer was a very, very experienced grass track racer. The Livingston Price has come through on his own. Where is Tony Johansson? He's dropped back a long way now, the Swede, in the red March with the Jesus Saves sticker on the side, which that car ran in period. Jesus Saves, but Moses invests, as someone put on a Formula Ford car
something like that
Park recently. There goes Robert Simek.
Ja, prachtige strijd hoor aan de kop van het veld. Die twee mannen geven niet op. Richard Evans blijft volledig in de achtervolging. CQ aanval op Matthew Watts, die heel structureel net even een fractie sneller blijft rijden. Al is het maar een paar duizendste van een seconde. 16.000ste volgens mij de afgelopen ronde. Komen de twee mannen zo meteen door de Arie Luijendijk bocht heen. De tweevoudig winnaar van de Indy 500 natuurlijk. Daar komen ze aan, de witte auto en de oranje auto van Evans. En het verschil is weer kleiner geworden. Evans die heeft toch weer een paar tiende ingelopen op Watts. Het is kleine 16e nu het verschil tussen beide rijders. Ja, het is voor Richard Evans denk ik een beetje wachten op een klein foutje van Matthew Watts.
You can see that the Richard Evans in that lighter car, he can brake just that little bit later, maybe one car length later, down into Tarzan. That allows him to get back on terms with the 2-litre BMW powered March out ahead. So BMW power leads the way. Kozlov PDA in second place. Fantastic circuit for these cars, which hosted Formula 2, say in period. Formula 2, which stopped as a 2-litre Formula in 1984 when Bernie Ecclestone sold all the DFEs he'd bought cheaply and created Formula 3000. That was the end of Formula 2, I'm afraid. There was an attempt to rebuild it as a one-make Formula, which Jonathan Palmer did. Jonathan Palmer, ex-Grand Prix driver, who runs the Motorsport Vision circuits in the UK, based at Brands Hatch. But International Formula 2 as it was, so it finished at the end of the 84 season. The last race was at Brands Hatch.
Ja, we hebben een aantal achterblijvers die toch gepasseerd moeten worden. En dat zien we dan af en toe gebeuren. Dat kan wel invloed hebben natuurlijk op wat er gebeurt aan de kop van het veld. Matthew Evans, 3/10 van een seconde. Hij zit er nog dichterop. Ja, dat heb je als je langs die achterblijvers moet. Dan ligt het er maar net aan wie de beste keuze maakt en waar je hem er langs kunt steken. Stukje bij beetje dus Richard Evans dichter bij Matthew Watts in die strijd om de kop. Met nog een dikke 6 minuten te gaan.
A fantastic dive down the inside. Richard Evans has chosen his moment and he's got up the inside. He's passed in the Hugenholz. Absolutely unbelievably. Dive to the left coming out of the Gerlach.
I did not expect it at all at this moment.
No.
Not at all. Ja, prachtige inhaalactie van Richard Evans bij het ingang van de Gerlachbocht. Zet hij hem ernaast. Dan door de Hugenholz binnendoor bij Matthew Watts. En totaal onverwacht zal op dit moment Richard Evans pakt de leiding in de wedstrijd.
It was total commitment, absolutely brilliant. Matthew Watts wasn't expecting it, but then again when Richard went for the gap, Matthew didn't slam the door in his face and put them both in the wall. He's too sensible for that. And these guys who are both paying for their own racing certainly wouldn't bang wheels, not in these cars. But that was a brilliant, brilliant move from Richard Evans. Typical of the guy, he's the top of his game.
I think Matthew Watts was just very much surprised. because at the straight he was still more than 3/10 of a second behind him. Nou, Richard Evans was op het rechte stuk dik 3/10 van een seconde achter Matthew Watts.
Now we'll see that 1600 BDA against 2-litre BMW in a straight line at the Arie Luijendijk bocht.
Ja, we gaan het zien. In principe is de witte auto sneller. Er zit meer power in. Daar komt hij aan onder de vleugel. Gaat er wat gebeuren richting de Tarzanbocht? Richard Evans was aan de lijn en Matthew Watts weer ernaast. Wat gaat er gebeuren? Het is de witte auto Matthew Watts die de leiding weer pakt. Wat een mooi gevecht zeg. En zo lijkt Richard Evans heeft, een halve ronde, 3/4 ronde aan kop gereden. En hij moet weer overnieuw beginnen. Want de BMW motor in de witte March, die is veel sterker. En zo rijdt de nummer 2 auto weer op kop.
That was a fantastic scenario there because Matthew Watts knew he had to make his move quickly. He cannot let Richard Evans get more than a couple of car lengths ahead. And out of the Arie Luijendijk box, he was sitting under the back wing of the Formula Atlantic car, and it's taken the wind out of Richard Evans' sails to the point now because Matthew Watts held his nerve, braked as late as he dared down the inside into Tarzan and just snatched it back. Now, there's traffic ahead, and that might produce an opportunity for Matthew Watts to get back in terms. And you can see Matthew Watts, the front of his car, beginning to wash out. The tyres are perhaps past their best now. And as they go out into the country, he's got those two cars. He's got to plan his position to his place to get them back. He'll probably do it in one of the straights, but there's Richard Evans, head down, and he's about 5 or 6 cars lengths behind. It'll be no problem at the Arie Luijendijk box. They won't catch the slower cars until quite a long way round. Look up, here they come. And the car in front is that of Richard Ellingworth, and Luciano Arnold in the Brabham is there as well. And that's the biggest lead that Matthew Watts has had. Watts down the inside, he goes inside Luciano Arnold. The gap has gone out to a 1.3, and Watts, with the fastest lap of the race, has made his move. 1.3 seconds between them now, a 1:39.035.
Ja, prachtige strijd daar aan kop. Matthew Watts die natuurlijk gelijk weer de leiding pakte. En op dit moment gelijk de snelste ronde van de wedstrijd neerzet. 1:39.035 na 23 minuten racen bijna. Richard Evans daarachter weer. Het gat was eigenlijk nog nooit zo groot. Bijna 1,4 seconden inmiddels tussen de witte en de rode auto. De beide marges vooraan in het veld. Verder naar achter is het Max Blies die een plaatsje naar voren gaat. De 14e plaats voor de nummer 17 auto. Ook de Brabham van Blies die Paul Bezen voorbij gaat in de nummer 50 March. De ex-James Hunt auto. De nummer 50 auto. En zo zie je ook achteraan in het veld nog de nodige strijd. Totaal auto's in de baan. Op dit moment nog 16 auto's.
So Matthew Watts with 1 minute and 45 seconds on the clock. He's just banged in his fastest lap, a 1:39.035. That wouldn't look too shabby in the Formula One race, I can tell you. Just lapped Wayne Wilson again in the very early spec wingless Brabham. Doesn't have anything like the speed of the quick cars up front. They go through for the 14th time. The gap between them is 1.1. Richard Evans will never give up until the checkered flag comes out, because there might just be a glimpse of a chance in traffic. I see the Ellingworth March and Luciano Arnold's beautifully turned out ex-Silvio Moser Brabham running there together. The bright green Brabham is the car that John Watson drove in period, and the blue March chasing it, Paul Basson, number 50, a car that was raced by James Hunt in Formula 2. There goes our third place driver forward. He's a long way back from the rest. And then Lillingston Price not far behind him. Robert Simak put in his personal best last time round. Robert Simak, the championship leader in car number 1, 3 times a champion in this formula. The last 3 years, in actual fact, may well make it 4.
Yeah, talking about James Hunt, last year we had Freddie here, I think driving in the, what was it, the Heskett that he at that time drove. So still a big name in motorsports, the Hunt name.
Well, they've come through then, and that is the checkered flag, and those two guys have put on a fabulous demonstration. What a great show from the historic Formula 2
Absolute.
Championship. 0.664 at the end between two Matthew Watts, our race winner, 54 Richard Evans in second place. Our third place driver currently is out on the in the third section of the track. That is Dean Forward in number 13. And the 1600cc class, well, will go the way of Robert Simac, but he's the only 1600 finisher to be on the same lap as leaders. There's Dean Forward in number 13. He's in third place, just ahead of the pale blue chevron, the Freddo Put Racing chevron of Chris Lillingston Price. We wait now for the red march of Tony Johansson, the Swede, in car number 23. Won't see him for a while yet. He was quite some way back, and then it will be Robert Simac in sixth place in car number 1. Jeremy Wheatley, there's Johansson. He finishes in fifth place. Here comes the battle between the Mike Barmby in the Modus and Gwyn Pollard in his chevron. Where is Robert Simac? Here he comes, Robert Simac, and the ex-Jean-Pierre Jossot March takes his customary 1600cc class win. Well done to him. Luciano Arnold was a lap down in second place, but he chased really hard, had a good fight with some of the 2-litre cars. Luciano Arnold in the Brabham, and in third place in that section Max Bliss with his Brabham, and in fourth in the 1600 class was Paul Basson with his March. The Atlantic class, 54, Richard Evans won it obviously. In second place was Gwyn Pollard. And of course Tom Smith retired early on in the Howdy Holmes Jiffy Mixes March. But that is our Formula 2 race, and we're going to go now to one of the Dutch races. This is the GT Touring Car race, and it's a 25-minute race at 12:35. I'll take your leave for a bit and come back later on when it comes to the 500cc Championship and historic Formula 1 Lorani Trophy later in the day, and I'll leave you in the capable hands of Arthur Decker and Rob Peterson and Sean Woodgate.